Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Commissioner Orr, and today I'm going to give a little recap or an after action report, if you will, about the Payoff Pitch tournament that took place in Milwaukee yesterday at this point, Saturday, October 21st. I had the pleasure of going up there. First of all, big shout out to Kurt Berglund for putting this together. He put together the tournament in the Milwaukee area. Joe Bryan, the creator of Payoff Pitch, was there. Actually, Joe was in one of the baseball leagues that I ran back in the day, out of the park league, and I've interviewed him on this channel. So if you want to check out that interview, feel free to do that. But it was good to meet him in person and just have fun. I've never done a head-to-head payoff pitch for sure. Haven't been to a tournament like this before, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. But Kurt did a very, very good job of organizing everything, and it was just a ton of fun just to play this game with other people face to face, which is something that I don't really get a lot of opportunity to do normally. And it was a different experience because I normally play just with PDFs. If you watch the channel, you know I play with PDFs on a computer screen with the auto dice roller and all of that fun stuff. So just being able to play in person and that kind of thing was just fun to do. So I'm going to go through like game by game and let you know how my team did. We were allowed to pick any team we wanted that was, that had that was carded in payoff pitch. So I took the 73 Oakland Athletics. I don't know how much I've talked about this, but I'm a huge New York Yankees fan. Um, and but in 1973, the year I was born, the Oakland Athletics actually went to the World Series that year. I think they were 94 and 68, if I'm remembering correctly. And my middle name is actually Jackson after Reggie Jackson. So I just kind of felt like that would be a good team to bring to the tournament. Felt they would be pretty good in comparison to others, and so that's who I chose. So I'll kind of give you the breakdown on that, but just so you know, kind of the way the tournament worked. There ended up being six of us there that were playing. Kurt didn't play, didn't take one of the teams. He was organizing everything. And then Joe Bryan was there. He didn't really, he didn't play one of the teams. So there were six of us playing, and I didn't get permission to use anybody's name in this video, so I'm not gonna go do that. But you can catch pictures of it. Kurt's actually posted pictures of this in the Payoff Pitch Facebook group, so go check those out. Also, he has a video that's going to come out. By the time I post this, his video will already be out talking about the tournament as well. So he's going to give you his perspective. I'm just giving you kind of my team's specific perspective and the perspective of someone who has not done one of these tournaments before and didn't know what to expect. Hopefully to encourage you guys, if you're wondering how it all works, to take part in this. I believe he plans on holding a couple of these next year, one in the spring, one in the fall. So, and if it's in the Milwaukee area, that's only about a 3.5 hour drive for me, 3:15, 3.5 hour drive for me. So very doable. So I'm looking forward to continuing to participate in those in the future. So again, head over to Kurt's channel if you want to get the breakdown from him. I highly recommend that. And again, big thank you to him for putting this on. We had door prizes. Everybody got a couple of door prizes, I believe. So that was cool. And then the World Series, the way it was, I guess I should back up. Because of the number of teams, 6 teams, we played each other once. And then if there were still tiebreakers to determine, then we would go to game 6. And then have a World Series game, a 1-game World Series between the top 2 teams for the 7th game. And then the winner and runner up in the World Series each got a full season set from Payoff Pitch. Really cool. Really, really cool. Anyway, so that's kind of the way it was set up. The kind of other quirky thing, if you will, not quirky really, but the other thing to kind of keep in mind is, everybody plays the game a little bit differently, whether you use the fast action cards, whether you use the charts. And so it was up to the home team to decide how things would be played, like stolen bases and infield in, and those kind of, some of those rules and designations. I guess infield in, it was up to the team, the defensive team, to say that before the dice were rolled. But with like stolen bases, it was up to the home team to decide how that would work. The home team also got to decide whether they used the DH that game or whether the pitchers batted that game as well. And we all had to use 3-man rotations. And again, there were some stipulations. Nobody with less than 100 plate appearances could start, could be in the starting lineup. And again, pitchers, you had to have enough starts in order to start one of the games to be in that 3-man rotation. I think that's about it. The cool thing with Payoff Pitch, though, is that unlike, let's say, Stratomatic, I'm going to use Stratomatic because it's the closest comparison I have, and I've played that one in person as well. And in Stratomatic, one of the people is rolling the dice. So, one person's rolling the dice, and then you look on the cards to determine what happens, but it's one person rolling the dice per at bat, if you will. In Payoff Pitch, the way it's set up, there's you look on the pitcher's card and then you look on the hitter's card. So in our it flows really well in person because you can have the pitcher throw the pitching dice and the hitter throw the hitting dice, the 10-sided percentile dice. And so you are both involved in every at bat that way. And you have both yourself to blame and you get to take all the credit for what you roll, because regardless of what the other person rolls, you are determining at least part of that outcome by what you roll in every at bat. So let's give a little recap of the games. I'm going to post pictures of the score sheets. That's the other thing, is I know how to take score manually, but I haven't had to do it for so long that I had to kind of get back into the habit again. So I'm going to show you the score sheets. My handwriting is terrible, but then I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what happened in each game. Played 5 games, no spoilers. And so I'm just going to give you that breakdown. And then you'll know which teams I played and whether I was home or visitor based on that breakdown. So game 1, I was playing away at the 1921 New York Yankees. Okay, so 1921 Yankees was before, the real powerhouse teams, but still a very, very good team. Babe Ruth was still there in the lineup, but you didn't have, Gehrig and Mantle and all of those guys in the lineup. But still a pretty dangerous lineup nonetheless. And so Waite Hoyt pitched in game 1 against me. And the cool thing about the Oakland Athletics in 73 is they had 3 20-game winners, and they were going to be my 1, 2, and 3 in the rotation. And I started with Ken Holtzman as my number 1 starter. And the A's that year, by the way, were number 1 in runs scored in the league. And I think they were like number 3 in home runs. So my general lineup that I used was North, Tennis, Jackson, Bando, Rudy, Green, Fosse, Campaneris, and then if the pitcher was batting, the pitcher slot. And if the DH was involved, I had Darren Johnson DHing in there. So he would DH and be after Bando in the order, just to kind of give you an idea. And so to give you a quick recap of game 1, it was a shutout for both teams. The first scoring happened in the bottom of the 4th finally, when Holtzman walked Ruth to lead things off. And then a couple of batters later, we had back-to-back singles. Pip and Shang had back-to-back singles. And then actually, Campaneris committed an error that extended the inning a little bit. So they ended up scoring 4 runs in the 4th inning. The Yankees did. So they were up 4-0 on me in the 4th inning. Then we headed to the 7th. again, they were still up 4-0, and they scored another run in the seventh on an RBI double by Miller. And then the top of the eighth, Holtzman, I pinch hit for Holtzman and brought in Jesus Alou to pinch hit in the eighth. He ended up grounding out to first, so no damage done there. And then, so then in the bottom of the eighth, they also scored another run to make it 6-0. And so I got shut out in game one. Waite Hoyt held me scoreless. I did threaten even in the first inning. I had runners on first and third with 2 outs, but couldn't get anything done. But that was the last hit I had until the seventh. I had 2 hits in the first. I had a hit in the seventh, all singles. And then I had a meaningless double. Reggie hit a meaningless double in the ninth. So I had a 4-hitter, basically. Waite Hoyt threw a 4-hitter against me. And the Yankees won 6-0. So it wasn't the greatest start. That was game one. Game two, I was playing, again, visiting the 1964 Cincinnati Reds. So again, and both of us had been shut out in game one. So the Reds also lost 6-0 in their first game. So we were just going to be happy just to score. And Vida Blue was my starter in this game. By the way, both Holtzman and Vida Blue were left-handed pitchers. And so in this game, though, I scored in the very first inning. Reggie got hit by a pitch. There was an error. And then Joe Rudy singled in Reggie for my first run of the day there in the first inning. Vida Blue was very good. He got into a little trouble in the third inning when he walked a couple guys to load the bases with 2 outs, but Pete Rose flew out to end the inning that time. They finally scored in the fifth on an error by Campaneris again. So Campaneris had a couple of errors today in this day. And then, so they scored an unearned run in the fifth to tie it up. In the top of the sixth, I ended up, Sal Bando walked. Joe Rudy singled him over to third. And then Green hit into a double play, but Bando scored. So that put me up 2-1. I scored another run in the ninth when Johnson came in as a pinch hitter for Vida Blue finally. And he had an RBI single there in the ninth to put me up 3-1. Then Raleigh Fingers came in, bottom of the ninth, and was an easy 1-2-3 inning. And so I won game 2, 3-1 against the Reds. I only had 5 hits that game. He had 7, and we each had an error. I was facing O'Toole, by the way, in that game, game 2. So at this point, I was feeling pretty good. We bounced back, and we were 1-1 heading into game 3. In game 3, I was finally home. So I finally decided, I wanted to use the DH. By the way, the Yankees in game 1 actually decided to have the pitchers bat because back in 1921, even the pitchers were good hitters. So that was probably a good move on his part. But in game 3, I was playing the 1977 Phillies. That was the lineup with, Lazinski and Mike Schmidt, and those guys. And again, I was using the DH, so I had my DH lineup going this time. And Catfish Hunter on the mound for game 3. Well, Catfish barely made it out of the first inning. If you're familiar with Payoff Pitch, you know that there's wheelhouse results that usually end up in home runs. And then there's ballpark results, which sometimes end up in home runs. And I was just rolling in the worst possible places on Catfish Hunter's card. So Maddox actually led off with a triple for the Phillies. I walked McBride, and then Lazinski hit a 3-run homer to get them up 3-0 after 3 hitters. Schmidt reached on error. So Gene Tennis committed an error there. But I got McCarver and Hebner to fly out, so thought I was going to be out of the inning. Still only down 3-0. But then Johnstone hit a 2-run homer to put them up 5-0, and I hadn't even had a chance to bat yet. They scored in the top of the second. Maddox had a leadoff double, and McBride singled him over to third. And I was like, okay, at this point, Hunter didn't have his stuff, so I pulled him, and we went to long relievers the rest of the game. But they scored the other run in the second, so they were up 6-0 in the second inning. And that score held until the sixth, when they scored yet another run after Blue Moon Odom came in, and he walked 3 straight batters to load the bases. And then Johnstone hit a sac fly for them to get up 7-0 on me at that point. I finally scored in the bottom of the sixth on a 2-out double from Joe Rudy that scored Salbando. So it was 7-1. I scored another run the next inning on a single from North. So Fosse had hit a double to lead off the seventh inning. And so we scored another run there to make it 7-2. But then Lazinski hit another home run in the eighth. And in the bottom of the eighth, I got it back when Salbando hit a home run, but by then it was, 8-3, and they'd even score another run in the ninth. So I ended up losing game 3, 9-3. And yeah, things just didn't go well for me in that game. Held the 3 runs again. So I was down 1-2 at that point. So game 4, again, I was trying to get back to 500 here at least. We had Holtzman back on the mound for us, and we were facing off against the 2016 Chicago Cubs, the most current team in the tournament. 2016 Cubs, and they had Hendricks on the mound facing off against Holtzman. And they got on the board in the bottom of the second with 2 runs, with a sac fly and a single. Rizzo hit a single there for their second run, scoring Bryant and Fowler there in the bottom of the second. But I came back, and in the top of the third, North singled, Tennis doubled, and Reggie hit a 3-run homer to put me up 3-2. So again, feeling pretty good about myself at that point because offense had been a little lacking so far, but Reggie finally stepped up, hit a 3-run homer to put us on top. But that only lasted until the bottom of the fourth, when led off with 3 straight singles, and that tied up the game. In the bottom of the sixth, they scored another run, and that put them up 4-3 on me. Still a pretty close game until the 7th. And then in the bottom of the 7th, after Hayward popped out, David Ross came in and flew out. So I was like feeling good about myself again. I had 2 outs in the 7th there, only down by a run. And then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit against Holtzman, as the craziest dice rolling that I've seen in quite a while. I kept rolling in play results, which are sometimes hits and sometimes outs. And they had literally I rolled 6 straight in play results, and they rolled low enough 6 straight times to single. So with 2 outs, they hit 6 straight singles, all on these low roll in play results. And it was just crazy. And at that point, there's nothing you can really do. I mean, there's nothing I could do about it but laugh, because it was just nuts. And my opponent at the time, he was like, he was apologetic, but he was laughing too. It's like, what can you do? It's crazy. We were just like, this is crazy. This is just craziest thing. So that blew the game wide open, and I was down 8-3 at that point. And I didn't score again. Um, Chapman came in the ninth, but I was out of it, and so we lost game four 8-3. And so I at that point was down to 1-3, and but despite being down 1-3, nobody was out of it yet because the top two teams at that point were the 69 Cubs and the 21 Yankees, and they were both 3-1. And there were two teams that were 3-1, a couple of teams that were 2-2, and a couple of teams that were 1-3. So it really came down to the last game, game 5, and I was playing the 69 Cubs at home. And so if I could win that game and get to 2-3, then we would play a game 6 most likely, because nobody would still be out of it. Because even if the Yankees would have won and been 4-1, the next place team would have been 3-2, and so you would have had a bunch up of teams there at 3-2, and then even me at 2-3 could have gotten my way back into it, though an outside chance, but I could have gotten back into it. So I still had a shot, and I had Vita Blue on the mound again. He had pitched a great game 2, my only win so far. And we were again facing the 69 Cubs. And he had Selma pitching. And so again, came in here pretty confident. I loaded the bases with no outs in the first inning. He had not back to back, but there were 2 errors. So North and Jackson both reached on error with a single in between them to load the bases with no outs in the bottom of the first. And so, things were looking good for me. But then, again, we were using the DH because I was home this game. Johnson struck out, and then Bando grounded into a double play to end the inning, and I didn't score. So that kind of was the way my day went. That kind of just sums up how the day went. In the top of the second, the Cubs let off with a single and 2 doubles. And then a couple batters later, there was another 2-out double. And so they ended up scoring 3 runs in the second. I kind of got a little dejected there because here was the same pattern as I had faced before. In the bottom of the fourth, though, as you can see, Sal Bando hit a 2-run homer to get me back into it. So it was 3-2. And once again, I was within striking distance. Felt good after the kind of bad second inning there. Vita Blue had calmed down and was pitching well again. And the 5th and 6th were 1, 2, 3 innings. After walking the leadoff batter in the 4th, he recorded 10 straight outs going into the 7th. And then we headed into the 8th, and I had to pull him because he was the 8th was his inning, and he had allowed 3 runs, so he was going to be tired if I didn't pull him that in the 8th inning. And once again, my relievers didn't do me any favors. So once again, with 2 outs, I walked the number 9 hitter, Young, and then Kessinger and Beckert followed with a single and a bases clearing double to drive in 3 runs. And Billy Williams hit a triple following that. So the Cubs scored 4 runs in the top of the 8th against my relievers. They'd score another run in the 9th to be up 8-2 at that point. And, Joe Rudy did hit a garbage time home run in the ninth, but I was pretty much done by that point in terms of what I could do. So overall, I lost game one 6-0. I won game two 3-1, and then I lost 9-3, 8-3, and 8-3. So I scored 3 runs only in 4 of those games. My offense was just didn't do well all game, and I did rough statistics. So these are very rough just by counting. I didn't take the time to put these in ball score, ball stat, or anything like that. I just did back of the napkin statistics here, if you will. And here's how things ended up. North was 5 for 22 with an RBI and 4 Ks. Tennis, number 2 hitter, was 2 for 20 with 3 strikeouts. Reggie, 4 for 19. He had a double and a homer and 3 RBIs. He did strike out 6 times, which is actually not as bad as it could have been, I guess. He did walk once, and he was hit by a pitch. Bando in the number 4 spot was 4 for 18. He did have 2 homers and 3 RBI. He had 2 walks. He struck out 3 times also. Joe Rudy was my best hitter of the day, 6 for 18 with a double and a homer and 3 RBI. He did walk and had 3 strikeouts. Green, 3 for 19 with 3 strikeouts and grounded into 2 double plays on the day. Fossey, 6 for 19. Again, pretty good. Yeah, double and a triple in there among his hits. Campaneris, 1 for 18. Of course, he's in the number 9 spot, but still, 1 for 18. And then Johnson actually was 3 for 9. One of those at-bats was a pinch hit single, I believe. He hit 2 doubles. He had an RBI. He did strike out 5 times. So overall, my team hit 208. This is rough, so give or take. But we hit 208 in those 5 games. So the offense just wasn't working for us, and we just couldn't get anything going. Most telling, we only walked 5 times in those 5 games. So we weren't getting on base. We weren't hitting for average, and we weren't getting on base through walks. And so there's just nothing we could get going. So one could look at that and say, well, the offense is why we lost. However, if you remember those scores, 6-0, the only game I won, we held them to 1 run, and then 9-3, 8-3, 8-3. My pitching was just horrible. So 3 20-game winners, but it sure didn't feel like that. I felt like I was always pitching with runners on base. And we were walking people like crazy. We just couldn't get it done. I was rolling. Again, in this game, you have yourself to blame for the way you roll. And I was just rolling not anywhere where I needed to be rolling. I wasn't rolling in the tough section almost ever. The times I did well, but then I kept rolling in either in play, and there'd be low results resulting in base hits, or it was a bunch of patient. And so, overall, my number 1 starter, Holtzman, 13 2/3 innings, but allowed 11 earned runs. And in those 13 2/3, he allowed 18 hits, and he walked 3, and he only struck out 7. Vida Blue was my best starter, 15 innings pitched, only 3 earned runs. So that's pretty good. He still walked 6 in those 15 innings. He did strike out 10, though. And then Catfish Hunter had the one terrible game. Maybe I should be thanking myself that he didn't get it pitched twice, but where he only lasted one inning and allowed 4 earned runs and 5 hits and 2 walks and didn't strike out anybody. But even my relievers were bad. So opponents hit 295 against me, and just to put it in perspective, so I told you I hit 208. I walked 5 times and struck out 29 times. Well, I struck out 27 batters, so almost the same. But whereas I walked 5 times, we walked 19 opposing hitters. So the opposing hitters or opposing teams had a 361 on base against me. Again, give or take. So, I mean, yeah, you can point to the offense and say the offense didn't come through for me, but the pitching just wasn't there for me. 320 game winners, and I just like Vita Blue was the only one that actually was consistently good, if you want to call it consistently good, in those games. And then my relievers just, other than maybe I should have used Raleigh Fingers more because he pitched a scoreless inning, a 1-2-3 inning, and maybe I should have just used him even in non tight situations because any other reliever I brought in just didn't do well. So yeah, so I ended up being dead last in the tournament, 1-4. Every other team had 2 wins other than me, and the two world we didn't have to have a game 6 because I couldn't pull through. So we ended up with 2 teams that were 4-1 at the end of the day, and so they were both going to be World Series teams automatically because nobody else was 4-1. And and so yeah, my team just couldn't get it done. 73 A's let me down. And there's no one to blame but myself, I guess, because of my poor rolling. See, I can blame it on myself because every at bat, I'm rolling some of the dice to impact the play, and I just couldn't. The dice gods were not smiling on me that day. We'll just say that the dice gods were not smiling on me that day. On paper, I matched up with any one of these teams. I kind of compared batting averages and pitching staffs, and the A's pitching staff, that the 320 game winners, Holtzman, Blue, and Hunter, their ERAs, if you average them out, were about 3, give or take. They were right around 3, and a 260 batting average. But again, compared to the other teams we were playing, that was actually pretty good compared to the other teams. And so I thought I was going to do pretty well in this tournament, and it just didn't work out that way. And again, I think it's down to my crappy dice rolling, which I can blame it on the dice gods, but who knows? Maybe if things would have been different, things could have broken a different way. Regardless of that, I still had a blast, even though my team didn't do as well as I would hope, and had me second guessing if I should have picked somebody else, because since I'm a huge Yankees fan, I could have picked the Yankees teams that had Reggie, 77, or one of those teams, or I could have picked somebody else. But again, I didn't go in this trying to pick the absolute best team to win the tournament. I just kind of wanted to pick a team and have fun, and I did have fun. Even though my team didn't do well, I still had a blast, and it was just great meeting these guys and being able to play face to face and just have that experience. So really, if you get a chance, I highly recommend that you participate. I think Kurt's running an APBA tournament in a couple of weeks, and I don't play APBA, so I'm not going to that one. But Payoff Pitch is going to come back around a couple of times next year, and so if you're within a decent driving distance of the Milwaukee area, I highly encourage you to take part in that next time around. So that's where we'll leave things. I just wanted to give you a wrap up. I kind of went into a longer video than I expected, but I wanted to kind of give you my after action report, how bad my team did, and tell you kind of how things flowed and how the day went. We had a break in the middle for lunch, so we had some downtime here or there, but it was just nice getting together, as I said, with people and playing, and the different ways that we played. I didn't ever see it get in the way of us playing. Like there weren't really any, at least I didn't hear any like disagreements over anything, or anything like that. Everybody was really just chill and cool, and since I'd only played with PDFs on a computer screen, no matter what we played was going to be new to me. So I just kind of went with however they wanted to handle things, and that worked just fine. And so there weren't really any. I kind of wondered about that going into it, like, oh well, if I handle things one way and they handle things a different way, how are we going to kind of decide that? Well, those plays almost never come up anyway, where there's a real disagreement over the way you're going. And so everything just worked itself out. We'll just say that. I never felt like it affected the game any. Like I never felt like I got cheated because of the way uh, the person I was playing was choosing to play that game. I never felt like that was the problem. It never came down to a play and there was, you know, disagreement over it, and that caused me to lose or anything like that. It was all in my hands, and so that's kind of where I'll leave that. But yeah, had a blast. Highly encourage you to participate next time around. But that's where we'll leave things. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of that. And yeah, love to hear your comments on it. If you participated in other tournaments, how those went, I'd love to hear about that as well. And yeah, that's where we will leave things. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a great evening.